Right now, court appearances across the country for those indicted in a massive mob-linked sports betting ring. Current and former NBA stars, including Hall of Famer Chauncey Billups, among those charged. The feds say the operation stretched across 11 states and involved high-tech gambling and game rigging schemes. Correspondent Nate Foy has got the latest. He's live outside the Brooklyn Federal Courthouse. Wow, this is a big one, Nate.
Yeah, it certainly is rocking the sports world today, John. As you mentioned, court appearances are underway right now, including with members of the mafia and other New York-based defendants just across the street from where we are. Other court appearances set to happen soon across the country. There are two indictments at play here. One is about an illegal rigged poker scheme that involves two former NBA coaches and players. The other involves a current active NBA player accused of altering his performance during a game as part of a sports gambling scheme. That player is Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier. He was arrested in Orlando early this morning after his team played the Magic last night. He did not play in the game. He's scheduled to appear in federal court in about 20 minutes. Rozier's accused of purposely leaving a game with a phantom injury so that he and his co-conspirators, including his childhood friend, could make tens of thousands of dollars. Meanwhile, NBA Hall of Famer and current Portland Trail Blazers head coach Chauncey Billups was also arrested in Portland this morning for the rigged poker scheme. Now, Billups is scheduled to appear in federal court at 4:30 Eastern time. He's accused of working with the mafia to defraud victims who thought they were playing fair poker games that were anything but. One person lost $1.8 million in a single game.
Victims were attracted to play alongside well-known professional athletes and coaches like Chauncey Billups, only to be unknowingly deceived through rigged shuffling machines, fixing the odds in their favor.
So, John, take a look at this. Here is one of those shuffling machines. Prosecutors say they read the cards, predicted which player had the best hand, and then relayed that information to a so-called quarterback who would then use signals to communicate with Billups and others during the games. Prosecutors say the defendants also used X-ray tables to secretly view each player's cards. The NBA put out a statement that reads in part, quote, Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups are being placed on immediate leave from their teams, and we will continue to cooperate with the relevant authorities. Now, former NBA player and coach Damon Jones is listed in both indictments. So he's accused of partaking in the rigged poker games and selling insider information to profit off bets on NBA games. Now, the allegations involve several NBA teams, and not every single person is named in the indictment, but one game that is in question was a 2023 Portland Trail Blazers game where there were a lot of bets placed on it, and the Trailblazers sat four of their starters in that game. Now, during that time, Billups was the head coach of the Trailblazers, but he's not facing any charges related to that game. This is an ongoing investigation, and it's part of the same investigation that resulted in a lifetime ban for former Toronto Raptors player Jonte Porter, who admitted to altering his performances during games so that people, including himself, could profit off of these prop bets. We'll send it back to you, John.
You know, if you presented that to a movie studio as a script, they'd say, it's too far-fetched. Nobody will buy it. Nate Foy for us. Thanks, Nate.
It reminds me of the 1979 Boston College point shaving scandal, John.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not old enough to remember that. Thank you, Nate.
All right, let's bring in Fox and Friends co-host Brian Kilmeade and former NYPD Inspector Paul Morrow, a Fox News contributor. Brian, you're familiar with every corner of the sports world. I mean, heads are exploding right now.
I know that you really got two things going on. I think, it's serious in terms of legal stuff on the modified card shuffling, the games in East Hampton, the games in Las Vegas, and I get it. But I think the bigger story is in the sports world, because you have this Terry Rozier, Chauncey Billups, who's right now just in the card game, but we'll see if the indictment spreads out. The one thing about betting, the one thing about games, the one thing that puts people in the seats, they think the game is not rigged. They think it's not fixed. The minute you fix the game, where people go there and go, and who's getting paid off? Man, that was a bad pass. I wonder if that person is got a prop bet on the side, is involved in it. Then everything falls apart. You can't have gambling. It doesn't have authenticity. And then people will pay for a ticket for a game that they think is somehow predetermined. Yeah. And now the betting falls apart, the game falls apart, the league falls apart. That's why I'm wondering if it gets bigger than this. Terry Rozier and Damon Jones, a former player, not the biggest names in the world. I'm wondering because the day before we hear about the commissioner of the NBA saying we need more rules when it comes to gambling. Why was he saying that?
So Terry Rozier's attorney just happens to be Jim Trusty, who will be familiar with many people who watch this program because we have him on TV a lot. He said this, quote, "It's unfortunate that instead of allowing him to self-surrender, they opted for a photo op. They wanted the misplaced glory of embarrassing a professional athlete with a perp walk. That tells you a lot about the motivations in this case. They appear to be taking the word of spectacularly incredible sources rather than relying on actual evidence of wrongdoing. Terry was cleared by the NBA, and these prosecutors revived that non-case. Terry is not a gambler, but he's not afraid of a fight, and he looks forward to winning this fight." His last contract, 4-year extensions, worth $96 million. He makes $24 million a year. Why does he need a few 10,000s in gambling?
Yeah, you got to ask yourself that. I mean, the reason, to be clear, and I know a lot of people are asking this, why aren't they not going to the legal outlets to make gambling bets? And one of the things that's implicated here is the fact that if you win from a bookie, mob-linked or otherwise, you don't have to pay the taxes. So if you're really gambling a lot of money, but it's on the books with a service over the internet, you have to pay the taxes. The other thing is that if you're losing and you find yourself short, they will happily loan you money.
Yes.
And that's where we get into the extortion charges, which are in this indictment.
Yeah, one could make the case that they were already deeply in gambling debt and trying to get their way out of it. I'm sure we're going to learn more details. This is the FBI Director, Kash Patel, really sort of, I guess, describing the vastness of this. Listen.
The fraud is mind-boggling. It's not hundreds of dollars. It's not thousands of dollars. It's not tens of thousands of dollars. It's not even millions of dollars. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars in fraud and theft and robbery across a multi-year investigation.
Are you just sort of surprised that we're still, I don't know, that this is happening?
Yeah. How about this? I mean, 4 crime families.
Yeah.
They say it's very rare for these families to work together, but they agree for this.
Everybody loves basketball.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they get protection, debt collection, you know what that means, in exchange for a cut of the winnings. In turn, too, I think it's pretty interesting that they have all this high-tech technical device, whether it's earpieces, whether it's x-ray vision, whether it's certain things in your glasses or contacts. This is like Ocean's 11 or whatever number they're up to now, Ocean's 13. I think it's nuts. But people say that if you're addicted to gambling, if the first reason why we're not addicted to gambling, and we say, how could you risk a $25 million contract for a $10,000 bet? But even though Jim Trusty says his client's not, they say it's typical of people addicted. They want the adrenaline and the rush, and they just want to win, even though it doesn't seem to make sense because you have $26 million. You're not betting the ranch, and you can pay the mortgage.
Final word to you, Paul?
Well, so yeah, the 4 of the 5 families are involved. Interestingly, here the Columbos are not, and that's Brooklyn territory. The indictment's in Brooklyn, so it looks like maybe they're on the outs.
You have the territories down?
Well, yeah, well, Brooklyn is traditional.
Hello?
Colombo.
All you gotta,
I forgot.
The accent, that says it all.
I'm not in the indictment, let me be clear, all right? There's a number of people who are not in the indictment who are not named. Those are likely going to be flips. Interestingly, no RICO charges here, but I'm sure they're working on trying to get something organizational here to get the big bang of the RICO charges. And look, what it really comes down to is we've had these before. There was a fixing scandal in the NBA just a number of years ago, Operation Flagrant
Apparently there was a
Frown.
point shaving in 1979. But
Right, yeah, you too, yeah.
And in fact, going back to Hollywood, in a Friars Club, they had a fixed poker game. They were watching with a camera through the roof, and they were ripping off big Hollywood names. They know institutionally, that is the mafia, they know how to do this stuff institutionally, and that's the big force multiplier for them, the organization. That's kind of what sets them apart.
Hey,
Gambling's gone mainstream. Every other ad is gambling with the biggest names in sports and celebrities. John Hamm, Shaquille O'Neal.
A lot of money
So
to
it's
be made.
amazing that anyone's not betting.
You're bored, and you got money.
Right. You're not talking. Want even more Fox News on YouTube? Become a Fox News Patriot today. Click join to find out how.